Tabari reports,
Both statements are supported by testimony related on the authority of the prophet. Both statements are equally sound, since they both came from the prophet. Thus only the Quran,
which also came from the prophet,
could serve as proof that the accounts naming Isaac was clearly the more truthful of the two.
But if that is the case, Islam falters, since it draws its legitimacy from Ishmael. Muhammad claims that he was prophet quality because he was a direct descendant of Ishmael.
Tabari, we ransomed him with a tremendous victim.
This became Quran 37:107.
Refers to Isaac.
But how can that be? In verse 104, Allah says,
We called out, Abraham, you have fulfilled your dream. Thus do we reward the good. That was indeed a trying test. So we gave him the good news of Isaac.
How can that be? How can Abe have nearly sacrificed Isaac if the reward for fulfilling that trying test was Isaac? In Virgin 2,
Messenger, repeat the knowledge Allah has given you about the son of the two victims. The messenger laughed, and they said, Who are the two victims? The prophet said, When Abd al-Muttalib was ordered to dig Zamzam,
not Ishmael or Gabriel,
he vowed that if Allah would make it easy for him, he would sacrifice one of his sons. The choice fell upon Abdallah, but his uncles prevented it, saying, Ransom your son with 100 camels. So he did that, and Ishmael was the other victim.
The first boy spared, Abdallah, which means slave to Allah, was actually Muhammad's father. And as we shall soon see, he botched that story as badly as he did the other.
Tabari, when Abraham was told to sacrifice Isaac, Satan said, By Allah, I cannot deceive the people with this. I shall never be able to do it.
Satan not only swears by Allah, he says that the bogus connection between Abraham and Islam is his best way to fool mankind. He was right. It's also interesting that the deception would be over sacrifice. Judaism, Christianity, and all rational civilizations use sacrifice as a means to promote justice and maintain spiritual or societal order. Commit a crime and you will be required to sacrifice your money, your freedom, or your life. If a crime is without cost, anarchy reigns. In Judaism, the sacrificial rite for forgiveness of sin was rich in symbolism. It was based upon the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant, and it was connected prophetically to the blood of an unblemished lamb or dove. It's all explained in the Torah. In Christianity, Christ became the perfect lamb and sacrificed himself on our behalf. But in Quranic Islam, there is no sacrifice. While the Sunnah perpetuate Qusay's senseless slaughter, it's for appeasement, not atonement. There is no symbolism, no prophetic implication, and no moral reason, as forgiveness is capricious in Islam. And that is why totalitarian governments use draconian measures to maintain order. Muhammad was an amoral thief, empowered by situational scriptures, so he failed to appreciate the necessity of sacrifice, and he never understood the biblical concept of sacrificial atonement. It's why the ransom of great sacrifice mentioned in the Quran is left unexplained.
Tabari, Caliph Umar said, I asked a former Jew who was considered to be a great Jewish scholar before he converted to Islam. He said, Ishmael, by God, O Prince of Believers. The Jews know that, but they are envious of you Arabs, because it was your father who was named in Allah's command, and to whom Allah ascribed such merit.
If that were true, then the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were written 1,000 years before Islam was invented, would say that it was Ishmael that Abraham took to Mount Moriah. But since they reveal that it was Isaac, might Islam be lying? Why do you suppose the prophet said,
When Isaac grew up, Abraham had a dream in which he was told, Fulfill your promise that if Allah grants you a son by Sarah, you will sacrifice him.
In other words, if you give me a son, I'll kill him for you.
Then he drew the knife across Isaac's throat, but the knife did not scratch him, for Allah had placed a sheet of copper on Isaac's throat. When Abraham saw it, he turned him over and tried to cut him on the nape of his neck. Thus confirms Allah's Quran. When he surrendered, he flung him down upon his face.
Quran 37:103. In the next hadith, it's Ishmael.
When Abraham was alone with his son on the trail of Mount Tabari,
It's a mountain near Mecca.
it is said that he said to Ishmael, "O my son, I saw in a dream that I was to sacrifice you. What do you think?" Ishmael told him, "O my father, do as you were ordered, and sharpen your knife blade, so that it will finish me off quickly."
The tests attributed to Abraham may be the low water mark for Islam's credibility thus far. This strand of pearls begins to unwind in Tabari's second volume, Prophets and Patriarchs.
Tabari. After Allah had put Abraham to the test, when Nimrod bin Cush tried to burn him there in the fire, when he commanded him to sacrifice his son after he had become old enough to walk, when he had made him to raise the foundations of the house and devote himself to its rituals, after all of this, he put Abraham to the test with still further commands, which he has mentioned. He said, "And when his Lord tried Abraham with commands, and he fulfilled them,"
This became Quran 2:124.
The earliest scholars of the Islamic community disagreed about the nature of these commandments with which Allah tested Abraham and which Abraham obeyed.
These tests were crucial because Islam, according to Muhammad, was the result of Abraham's obedience. Yet the Quran is deficient, completely silent on the nature of these trials and their significance. So rather than let Allah wallow in blissful ignorance, the companions rushed in to save the day.
Tabari. Islam consists of 30 parts, and no one ever tested with this obligation carried it out except Abraham. When his Lord tried Abraham with commands means that Allah tested him with the acts of ritual purification, 5 in the head and 5 in the body.
Yes, according to Islam, 5 plus 5 equals 30.
Those in the head are trimming the mustache, rinsing the mouth, cleansing the nostrils with water, using the toothstick, and parting the hair with the fingers. Those in the body are paring the nails, shaving the pubic hair, circumcision, plucking the armpit, and washing off traces of feces and urine.
Can't be. Surely this is a misprint. There is no way that the adoptive father of the world's fastest-growing religion earned the dubious honor by passing such an inane test. Let's examine another hadith to make sure we've got this all right.
Allah's words, when his Lord tried Abraham with commands, meant that Abraham was tested by circumcision, shaving his pubic hair, washing the forepart and rear, using a toothstick, trimming the mustache, paring nails, and plucking his armpits.
That wasn't any better. How about this?
Tabari. Abraham was tested with 10 Islamic practices: rinsing the mouth, cleansing the nostrils with water, trimming the mustache, using a toothstick, plucking the armpit, paring the nails, washing finger joints, circumcision, shaving pubic hair, and washing the rear and vulva.
After adding,
bathing on Friday,
a fourth version gets ritualistic with
walking around the Kaaba, running between Safa and Marwa, stoning pillars, and hurrying.
I disdain ritual. I am therefore unimpressed with its justification. Ritual is a tool used by power-hungry men to condition the masses and subject them to their rule. It is a control device for the oppressor to use against the ignorant. It separates men from God and discourages rational inquiry. But no ritual has ever been this ridiculous. Tabari claims that these hadiths somehow illuminate portions of the second surah. Let's see how.
Quran 2, verse 118. Those who are ignorant say, "Why doesn't Allah speak to us himself or show us a sign?" So said the people before them. We have indeed shown our clear signs already.
Neither Allah nor Muhammad ever bothered to provide any proof of divine inspiration. No signs, no miracles, no prophecies. So this, once again, refers to the miracles of the Bible.